Hăīrε, φίλε, and welcome. Today we are in John chapter 3, starting off the very first paragraph of that chapter with the very first verse. This one is going to take us quite a while because this is a pretty long chapter. I think all told, it's 13 pages. 13 pages as I have them set up. We're still going to do the same system that we had for chapter 2, where I go about half a page each video. Monday is going to be the Greek, Wednesday is still the Latin, and then at the end of each page we're going to compare the Latin to the Greek. I know most of you don't care about that, but I find it interesting. So there's that. I did finally update this so that, where did it go? Imperative is now with V and imperfect is now with F. Makes a lot more sense. That's what most other people do. Today we're only going to go to right there, so about looks like a third of the way, less than a third of the way through verse 2, so it's going to be first time that we've had to do that, but that's about the middle of the page. Don't want this to take any longer than I've already made it by a prolonged intro. Now that you are horribly bored, let's get started. Einde anthropos akton pharisaion Nikodemos onoma autoi arkonton Judaion hutos elthen pros auton nuktos kai epan autoi. And that's as far as we're going to make it. Our very first word is a verb, so that's nice. This is the first time we've seen it for this chapter, so I'm going to go ahead and parse it. But from this point on, things that have been repeats, I'm just going to mark them above there because we already know what they are from everything that we've seen before. We really want to make sure that we're building our vocabulary, recognizing our forms so we don't have to do the same steps over and over and over again and take forever like this video is. So, ein, that's the imperfect form of eimi. It's the third person singular. So third singular imperfect. It is active because eimi doesn't have any passive forms. And it is indicative that we don't find any of the setup that would make it subjunctive, which would be like epsilon, iota mixed with something frequently. I don't actually remember what the third person singular subjunctive is. It's very rare. So indicative, very rare in what I read anyway. So was, we need to look for a singular subject. De acts as a interjection or a coordinating conjunction. We can translate it as but or and, depending on which fits the case best. Now, on the context of the previous chapter, which I just read and I should remember, I'm not sure which one of these actually makes most sense, but let's move on. Anthropos, omicron, sigma right there. Those two are nominative singular masculine endings of the second declension. So that's going to be our subject. And since ein is at the beginning of the sentence, this is probably not acting as a linking verb, but instead is acting as an indicator, showing the existence of something. But we do have a prepositional phrase right here with ek, so we could either read it as, we find it at the beginning of the sentence as a pointer, there was, or we can treat it as a linking verb connecting anthropos with this prepositional phrase. Since it's at the beginning, though, I'm going to treat it as the first option. But I'll tackle this phrase right now. Ek, ton, pharisaion, and comma. Punctuation, so nice. Nikodemos is nominative in form, so clearly that comma is properly placed. Close that off. Ek plus the genitive here is going to be plural and masculine. And now, let's move back to this. There was man. Ek ton pharisaion. So this is going to be partitive. Of the Pharisees. So far, so good. It's partitive because partitive could be done two different ways. It could just be plain old genitive, or it could be a preposition showing separation like ek does. So it's nice when we have ek to make clear what it is. So otherwise we might think it is possessive rather than partitive. Moving on. Nikodemos, omicron sigma, nominative, singular, masculine. It could be that this name doesn't decline. I don't remember from when I scanned through the Greek earlier. But since it's got omicron sigma right there, I would assume that this one does decline, which is pretty interesting. It might also be that this is a more Greek name rather than a Jewish name, because it's got Nik, which I would think comes from Nike, and then Demos. I don't remember what Demos would mean in Greek, but it seems familiar to me that there might be a word that this is a combination of two. So it could be a Greek name, might not be. I don't know. Let's move on. Onoma with an alpha right there, but no tau, tells us that this is going to be singular. It's a neuter noun. Onoma, onomatos. Third declension. Okay. That's going to be, since we don't have a verb, autoi here with a sub iota is clearly dative, singular masculine, so it's going to be to him. It's going to be the man that's referring to. Nicodemus, onoma, autoi. So it looks like we've got a predicate phrase right here. We've got subject, predicate, and then indirect object. I'm going to misspell this too. I don't remember if it's spelled with a C or a K in English. I would assume a C. One of those things that I should have looked up. But if I start doing this too well, you'll expect too much of me, so I have to fail early. Understand that? So onoma, I wish I wasn't failing, is also going to be nominative. It's singular and it is neuter. Nicodemus, and we can insert, because we've got imperfect tense, I'm going to insert imperfect verb here, was name to him. Or we could say was his name. Nicodemus was his name. Moving on. Archon, ton, eudion. So these are all genitives here. We've got a noun, and we've also got a noun right there. So this can't be a genitive absolute. We would have to have at least one adjective for this to work as a genitive absolute. So this is just probably going to be a possessive of the Pharisees. And so this looks like, actually, this is going to be the possessive right here. And this one is going to be another partitive, but without the ek in this case. Heart, spelled with an R. Genitive, plural, masculine, and this is also genitive, plural, masculine, of leaders or rulers of the Jews. So he's part of the leaders of the Jews. Jews is possessing. Archon, like Pharisaion, is being partitive, except in the different format. So that's actually pretty cool writing. Rather than repeating the same phrase over and over again, using the same word over and over again, John here is using two different ways of saying this, and that's giving life to the text. That's pretty cool to see that. Moving on to verse 2, autos, omicron, sigma, clearly a nominative, singular, masculine. Eilthen is our verb. That eta right there, especially in this really abbreviated stem, eilth, should tell us that this is an aorist tense, also with epsilon nu right there, from erkomai, leosumai, eilthon. That's going to be third person, singular, aorist, active, and indicative. This one, taking a look ahead, there does not appear to be a noun for this to refer to, so this is acting as a substantive. And we can insert the word one there. Or maybe the word man, since we've got man right there. Came. Prepositional phrase starting with pros. Pros takes the accusative. Find accusative right there. Nuktos. Nuktos is the wrong case. Nux, nuktos. So this is genitive. Prepositional phrase ends right there with singular and masculine. To or toward. Him. Who him is, though, we don't know. We don't have any words in these, at least this first part of this verse 2 and verse 1 to tell us who that is. But looking ahead, Rabbi, that tells us this is going to be Jesus, because Jesus, as far as I'm aware, he's the only one referred to as rabbi, and then only by people who believe in him. If it's somebody who doesn't believe in him, they only call him teacher, like Judas does in the garden. Judas will say teacher. And elsewhere we have disciples, strangers, calling him rabbi, and that's usually a sign of somebody that believes him. So just by the use of this word right here, we should know immediately that Nicodemus, even though he's coming with all these questions, he does believe in Jesus, even though he's doubting about something. So Whenever you see rabbi in reference to Jesus, that's a good sign. Whenever you see teacher, that's a bad sign. All right, to him, nuktos. What do we do with this genitive? Well, genitive could own this prepositional phrase right here, but I don't think that would make much sense. This one came to him of night. No. And I don't remember the gender. I think night is feminine. I will leave a note if it is not in fact feminine. Note. So, if not possessive, it's also not going to be partitive because that's singular, and you can't really do partitive with a singular. What other options are there for genitive? Well, there's the genitive of time, and this would tell us at night. So it's kind of like the locative, where the locative in Latin, if you have an accusative, the locative is showing you motion toward. If you have the ablative, which in Greek, really the closest you can get to the ablative is both the genitive and the dative, unfortunately. The ablative in the locative form shows you motion away from. And the genitive form of the locative shows us location where. So that is similar to what's going on right here. At night. Kai, coordinating conjunction. A little bit more forceful than de. And a pen, epsilon new right there. We've seen this one many times before, but we're going to parse it this time. It's third person singular. Lego, ero, epon. There's a great joke in that too. So epon is going to be aorist tense. I don't know why my brain crashed right there. And it's active and indicative. And he said, autoi. Sub iota right there under the omega tells us that this is another dative, singular, masculine, indirect object. To him. And then that's where we're going to stop today. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in its own context. But, or and, there was man of the Pharisees. Nicodemus was named to him. Of rulers of the Jews, this one came to him at night, and he said to him. So far, so good. Now, scanning through this, we don't see the word for God, so we don't have to test it for anything involving the grammar of articles there. So I believe we are done. I hope taking a look at this has been helpful for you, and I hope you stay with me as we struggle through the rest of this pretty long chapter. You have a very good day, and Happy New Year. Pretty soon. I think this actually releases before New Year. Well, something. Farewell. Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.